Hello. I'd like to offer some brief thoughts on a book called Opus by Gareth Gore, which is published now this week. And I'd like to talk to members of Opus Dei, friends, and any other person who is interested. I was in contact with Gareth Gore for about 18 months, answering his questions, organizing interviews for him, and so on. And I was convinced during this time, because he asked very specific questions, that he was after the truth. And this was good. I felt this was good because we're subject to scrutiny from people from outside, and this is good to read what they have to say. However, when the book was published, or before, just before it was published, I found out, and this confirmed when I actually read the book, that he was not interested in the truth, that he had a narrative that he decided beforehand, and that he wouldn't let the facts interfere with his narrative. So he wrote this book, which has a lot of distortions and errors and even lies. Why he wrote this book like this, I don't know, but that's what the end result was. And so it's not so useful because uh, he doesn't, there's some things he does not accept, and there's some things he twists, and so on. So let me describe to you what the book contains. It's got three topics. One is Banco Popular, which is a Spanish bank run by a member of Opus Dei for about 50 years in the 20th century, the second half of the 20th century. Um, and the allegation here is that Opus Dei stole millions, hundreds of millions from this bank for its purposes. This allegation is totally false, and I will explain now the details of that. Then the second part is um, about USA conservative politics, and the allegation in the book is that um, Opus Dei finances and controls USA right-wing politics, right up to the Supreme Court and the president and so on. Well, that's a bit of fantasy, and let's look at that in a minute. And thirdly, about Opus Dei, and he describes Opus Dei as a criminal organization which was set up to make money and control people. And what he does is take some sources, mostly many sources which are unreliable, others which are reliable, and twists everything to fit his narrative, as I said before. So there's a lot of distortion. So I think that for the three areas, I would say the three words: there's falsehoods about the bank, there's fantasy about politics, and then there's distortions about Opus Dei. So let me go through each area briefly. Banco Popular, this Luis Weiss was a numeri who lived from 1926 to 2006. He came from a banking family. He went into banking, into Banco Popular, which was where his family had a stake, and he worked there, more or less running the bank for about 50 years. He died in 2006. Later on, some years after he had died, the bank had a liquidity crisis and was taken over by Banco Santander. Now, one of the key and surprising things he did with his bank is that he gave a substantial part of his earnings to charity by setting up foundations which would handle this money and loan it or donate it to charitable causes, many related to Opus Dei, but also others, Catholic uh, causes like priests and convents, or other causes, good causes in society. He also convinced the other directors of the bank to also donate substantial part of their pay, and so the bank would take this pay and which the directors had given, decided to give, and it would give it to the foundations to administer. The idea that Opus Dei stole some money, or somehow there was some sort of fraud whereby huge sums of money went to Opus Dei every year from this bank illegally is totally false. Any loans or donations from the foundations were always done with complete transparency and within the legal framework. and it's not only uh, legal, but actually a really good thing that he did and they did. You can find more information about this in the website. So if I can share uh, the screen now. So here you have his website, luisweisstaberner.com. And here there are many interviews. There's a press release in the website down below. You have press release from the Louis Weiss Foundations about the book Opus. And the press release itself is here, press release from the Louis Weiss Foundations. You press here and then you get the actual PDF of the press release, which you can read yourself. And then another thing you get is the 21 falsehoods of the book Opus. These 21 falsehoods, which are here in 21 little videos, are videos in Spanish with English subtitles. And they refer 21 falsehoods was just on this aspect of the book relating to the bank, not about the other things, which I will talk about in a minute. So the main thing to think about in this area of the book is that the allegation that there was anything uh, dodgy or illegal or stealing of money or whatever like this is totally false. So then the second thing of USA conservative politics, well, um, in this part, Gore is very concerned about conservative politics in the US, and he says that these people are trying to roll back hard-earned rights, such as access to abortion or gay marriage, and that he notes that some of these people go to mass or meet at the Catholic Information Center, which is in Washington, D.C., and is a corporation of the Archdiocese of Washington, D.C., which is actually run by a priest of Opus Dei. And because the priest saying mass is a priest of Opus Dei, and people have been seen there attending mass, well, there is a sort of conspiracy. It's a conspiracy theory that deduces that Opus Dei is at the center of all these activities. And he attributes the actions of individuals to Opus Dei. Many of them are not actually members of Opus Dei, but they may go to mass there, and gives them a lot of power, even to appointments to the Supreme Court or the revocation the of Roe versus Wade, the striking down of Roe versus Wade. And well, it's a great fantasy. This conspiracy theory is a total misunderstanding of what Opus Dei is or how Opus Dei works, and uh, and it's a denial of people's freedom to do what they like in their life, in their political life. God does not believe in the freedom of individual members, so that allows him to build this conspiracy theory. But anyway, I leave it to you to work out how much truth there is in the conspiracy theory that Opus Dei controls the conservative policies of the United States of America. And thirdly, there's the section on Opus Dei, and um, and here I'd like to say that there's something he does not accept at the beginning, and this is very important for understanding why he doesn't understand Opus Dei. And he doesn't accept our intention. He doesn't accept that we are in Opus Dei in order to love God and serve other people for spiritual reasons. He doesn't think these motives are true, and therefore he always assigns ulterior motives, bad motives to members, such as seeking power or money or controlling or seeking to control other people. And this is what he does with the life of the founder, which is a total distortion of the reality, a total parody of the real life of Saint Josemaria. He goes through event by event, attaching intentions, bad intention to the things that he did. And the same thing he applies to the rest of the members. He has very low opinion of members. He does not respect you. He thinks that you are either a manipulator or you're being manipulated. He thinks that your intentions are always evil. Um, there's an article in Crisis Magazine which summarizes this as saying that for Gareth Gore, there are three types of members of Opus Dei. There are the monsters, who are the numeries, who are trying to manipulate everyone else. There are the dupes, who are some of the numeries who don't know this, or all the supernumeraries who are going around and their lives not knowing that Opus Dei is there to take their money and make them do things they don't want. And then there are the slaves, who are the assistant numeries who work for nothing for the rest of the organization. Well, the fact is that in Opus Dei, we're all equal, and priests and lay people, men and women, sing celibate and married, but he doesn't accept this, and he doesn't accept our intentions. And in fact, he there is not a single positive things he has to say about Opus Dei. So we've been around for almost 100 years. There are 90,000 of us, but absolutely every action of every member of Opus Dei and of the organization is evil. This is an absolutely amazing thing about the book. It's sort of, there's no attempt at having any balance when describing Opus Dei. In fact, I do not recognize what he describes, the lifestyle of the members, what we want, what we do. I've been a member for several decades. I've been a director for 30 years. So I know what's been going on in Britain, in Ireland, in the United States, in many countries. And I do not recognize the picture he paints. Um, the book contains many of the allegations made about Opus Dei in the past, and there have been allegations made, and but none of the rebuttals, none of the explanations that have been offered by us, even though some of them are in the public domain, or most of them are in the public domain. He takes what critics say as absolutely true, but what members say he disregards because it doesn't fit his narrative. So, because the book does not seek balance, it's totally one-sided. It's the type of book that brings journalism into disrepute. I love journalists, and I think institutions should be subject to scrutiny and answer questions. But because he's not interested in the truth, this is not what happens with this book. In fact, he says he's telling the secret story of Opus Dei, the secret history of Opus Dei, but in fact, he's not telling anything new. He's just telling the story in a very partial, distorted, and sectarian way. One thing not to be put out is by the number of footnotes or endnotes. There's 100 pages of endnotes, which gives it a patina of credibility. But do not be put out by this, because many are references to himself, or to anonymous sources, or to anonymous sources who quote other anonymous sources, or to discredited sources, or to real sources like the biographies of Saint Josemaria, but distorted, but taken out of context and distorted. We're actually working on a fact-checking document, which is running to several pages now, with many of the errors. We can't do them all because it would be like another book of 400 pages. But, we'll do a few and we will publish it soon. So you take any area, for example, abuse. There have been a few cases of abuse, but they have always been dealt with transparently. You wouldn't know this by reading Opus. You would think that, he's discovering things, which in fact are all in the public domain. Assistant numeries, the same thing. Yes, there have been some complaints in Argentina, and there's a case going on. Well, all this is in the public domain, and there have been statements from Opus Dei about it. These are not included. I'd like to show you. Um, I'd like to show you this now. Some articles. So we saw the Luis Weiss articles before. Now, in the website, there is a response to Gareth Gore book Opus, published by Salmon and Schuster, which has an introduction and key misrepresentations in Opus. There's 8 points, and so you can read that. It's actually here in the area where it's called the press room. I've also written an article in Mercatornet where I'm which is called A Gore Hatchet Job in a Catholic Institution. And so here is my book review, which tells you some of the things I'm saying about the book and the problems with it. And then uh, this is the Crisis Magazine article I mentioned about Opus Dei members being either monsters, dupe, or slaves. And there is another one also written by in Crisis Magazine by Austin Roos about Opus Dei and the newest albino monk trying to debunk some of the ideas of the connections in America of different people and building up the conspiracy theory um, about Opus Dei. So there's a lot of materials there to read. Um, I would summarize Opus as these three words: falsehoods about Banco Popular, fantasy about US politics, and distortions about Opus Dei. So it's really unreliable. We're actually happy to talk about any of these matters because we know the truth, and we know the truth that Gareth Gore is trying to hide. And well, the book has come out in digital format at the beginning of October, and it has had some impact in Spain, not so much in the USA and the UK so far. It's coming out in book form in the next few days. But and it, I don't know how much exposure it'll have. If it has a lot of exposure, it will present a great opportunity for each of us, for you, to tell the truth about Opus Dei, about the real Opus Dei, which you know because you know everything. We have nothing to hide, and we have a lot to say. So I think it's a great opportunity. Thank you.